BPC-157, everybody talks about how this is great for wound healing and it promotes tissue growth. Okay, it promotes tissue growth. Does that mean it causes cancer? Because cancer is unregulated tissue growth. Well, the answer is we don't know because we don't have any long-term safety data to know that, no, it's safe. Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Bob. Welcome back to another episode of Health Notes, the medical podcast that's not going to try and sell you athletic greens. I'm joined again today by our producer, Dave. So that means we're answering patient questions. Dave, what's our topic for today?
You guys get a ton of questions about peptides. So let me just kick it off by just asking your general opinion of like what peptides are. Hey, specifically, let's talk about peptide therapy.
Yeah, that's a topic we get a lot of questions about. It's something that's super popular in podcasts and social media. So that's something that we field a lot. So when we're talking about peptide therapy, like as a category, what it is, these are small molecules that are made by a compound pharmacy and require a prescription. It's usually some form of a therapeutic, okay? And just to give you some like frame of reference, insulin is a peptide hormone. Insulin is like 52 amino acids long. Human growth hormone is another peptide hormone. It's like 190 amino acids long. So when proteins get larger, they're much more complicated, much more difficult to make. Peptide therapy are things that are 40 amino acids and less in length. So these are small proteins, small molecules, easy to manufacture. This is why they're pretty popular. So they would be inexpensive to make. Let me ask you, kind of what's the vibe that you know about peptides? What's the feeling that you're aware of?
Yeah, you know, what I hear, I mean, they're cutting edge, right? So like Big Pharma really doesn't want you to know about it. They can't make money on it, so they don't want you to know.
Right.
But it's cutting edge. It's going to work. You know,
yeah, they're all natural. They're super safe. They're super effective. They're cutting edge. It's secret knowledge, right? There's always that appeal to like, oh, people don't know about this, right? They have funny names like AOD-9604, right? It's like they're like code names. They're so new, right?
Right.
So the thing is, every single bit of that is wrong.
They are natural, right?
So they are parts of naturally occurring things, typically. So let's talk about AOD-9604 for a second. We're going to talk about peptides as a whole. We'll talk about a couple specifically to maybe illustrate this. I mentioned the human growth hormone is a peptide hormone that's really big, right? AOD-9604 is the tail end of that peptide, that protein, right? I think it's around 20 amino acids long. I could be wrong, but it's a very small protein. And this was discovered, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago by the pharmaceutical industry. Then they said, what if we just take this small molecule, this small part of the human growth hormone peptide, and just use that as a therapeutic? This would be much easier to make than human growth hormone. Let's try that. So they took it, they did phase 1 clinical trials, which are important. Phase 1 clinical trials are the first trials that we use to know if something is safe to use, okay? So it passed phase 1 clinical trials, great. We know it's safe to give to human beings. And then it went into phase 2 trials, and guess what happened? It didn't do anything. It couldn't outperform a placebo. So it's abandoned, right? It had no clinical effect. So the pharmaceutical industry stopped researching it. But again, here it comes back again as, oh, here's this brand new, wonderful miracle drug.
And why do you suppose it gets so much play?
Right. It's easy to market these things as, like we were saying, they're new, they're cutting edge, they're safe, they're effective. But it's marketing. It's just trying to sell you a product.
Right. Dig into the research.
Right. So, and again, you don't have to take my word for it. In fact, I don't want you to. we could maybe build build some AI search prompts, right? If you're interested in peptide therapy, ask your AI, hey, provide for me all of the published human safety data on molecule X. And let me ask you, why am I saying published?
Published.
Or peer reviewed? Why do you think that part might be important?
That's always the gold standard of efficacy, of review, that sort of brings it into the sort of kind of the fact base. It kind of builds the fact base. It's the case law,
right,
of medicine.
We want to have verifiable, accurate scientific information for safety and for efficacy, right? Well, what if somebody was like, hey, Dave, here's this is pre-published data, right? Oh, this is even better. It's so cutting edge. This is pre-published. It's right. Okay. I'm a licensed physician.
Yeah.
I'm board certified in emergency medicine. I've been practicing medicine for 25 years. I would not consider myself qualified in order to evaluate the statistical methods used in a medical research paper. This is a big part of why peer review is important. To be published in a peer-reviewed journal, that means somebody else took your study, looked through it, how was the study designed, what are the endpoints you're trying to show, what statistical methods did you use with your data, and verified, yes, this is a legitimate way to do this research. That's why we want published peer-reviewed data, right? Because there's the old phrase, right? There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. So
you do want experts to cut through the actual, the real difficult statistical things, which are valid. I mean, published statistics can be used to say all sorts of things.
Right.
Yeah,
you can say all kinds of things with statistics, and it can be misleading. So you want to make sure that if somebody's publishing a medical journal, publishing a scientific research paper, that the statistical methods are representing what they say they're supposed to be representing.
Right.
So
yeah, I don't have the wherewithal to decipher that myself.
Right. And I read medical journals all the time. And I can decipher what's in the medical journal part, but even with my qualifications, I would not consider myself qualified as a biostatistician to say whether someone's statistical methods that they used were appropriate or not.
Yeah, but I talk to you all the time, and you break down science and non-science ideas quite often, and I understand them.
Yeah, that's the part that I can hopefully translate. And so when we look at peptides or peptide therapy, our first benchmark is there safety data in human beings so that we know that it's okay to use with people? And BPC-157, again, this is one of the things we get asked about all the time. Should I take this? I hear I should take this. This is supposed to be great. I encourage people to use their AI, find me and all of the published human data, phase 1 clinical trial, safety data for peptide X. And if you did that for BPC-157, what you'll find is there is no published human data that says it's safe. But yet people are prescribing it, right? And I'm really curious as a clinician, how did that informed consent discussion go? You come to me and you say, hey, I have some aches and pains. I hear this peptide can treat me. Was part of my discussion to you, hey, Dave, I hear what you're saying. I hear great things about this. By the way, I have no data to tell you, to reassure you that this is safe for me to give to you.
Right.
I think the argument that always comes back is, oh, but they're all natural, right?
Yeah.
Well, insulin, as I said before, insulin's all natural. Insulin's a peptide hormone. Dose and route matter. If I give you IV insulin, in large dose, that could kill you, right? We give sub-Q insulin all the time. Diabetics do that by themselves. If you're in the emergency department and I'm giving you IV insulin, you're getting admitted to the ICU or you're critically ill, right? So, but dose and route matter. I don't think any of these peptides are acutely toxic. We don't have case reports of people dropping over from them. But again, what's the long-term safety data? BPC-157, everybody talks about how this is great for wound healing and it promotes tissue growth. Okay, it promotes tissue growth. Does that mean it causes cancer? Because cancer is unregulated tissue growth. Well, the answer is we don't know because we don't have any long-term safety data to know that, no, it's safe. And again, there's a huge gap between, a petri dish mechanism or some animal studies, some rodent studies, and human beings. And I think it's not good medicine to just make that leap.
So let me just take a break here and say safety data. So that's where it seems like that's where it breaks down in a way. It's like safety and efficacy. That's probably what you are most focused on with patients.
Absolutely. Go ahead. I was just going to say, if there's no published safety data, we won't use something. If there is published safety data, so AOD, anti-obesity drug 9604, there is published safety data. Now, it failed in its attempts as a weight loss drug with pharmaceuticals, right? Now, but let's say we found some other mechanism, we found some other clinical application for it that we could try it for it. That would be okay to use it as an experiential type medication or an experiential therapy and see if it works. But again, we've reached the bar of we know that it has a safety profile. And then the second question is, do we know that it has an effect beyond a placebo? Is what we would want to know.
Right. Yeah. And so, and you mentioned like asking people to use AI search, right? Now, this is all key thing. Everybody uses it every day. Give us an idea of a specific terms to enable us to use AI effectively as consumers.
Right. So what would some criteria be for to understand like a peptide? If you want to research this on your own, dear AI, whatever, for peptide X, for molecule X, please give me all of the published human data on phase 1 clinical trials. That's safety. You could talk about phase 2 clinical trials, or you could even just ask it for all phases of all clinical trials, and when was it found, and what is its current status? I think if you put that in, you'll get a lot of good information back. And you could even maybe ask, separate out hype or, marketing.
So, and if you just ask the question generally,
if you just say, what is peptide X, you're going to get all of the marketing information.
Yeah, it's going to go right to whatever, Reddit, to just popular searches. It's going to search by popularity, and it's going to give you a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And like these get talked about a lot. They get talked about that they have such high effect, right? If these peptides did half of what is reported that they do, how come there's no researcher that's out there doing these studies showing this great clinical effect, right?
Right.
Clinical research is right there, publish or perish. Everybody loves a positive study. If I can do a study that has a positive outcome that shows an effect, I can get that published. But yet you have these molecules that are around 10 to 15 years and there's no published data. Why is that? Is that not curious?
Yeah.
Or is it maybe more likely that researchers looked at it and went, there's no smoke here. This isn't worth our time.
So, but there are peptides, right? There's collagen peptides. I know people who use collagen peptides. That's something different, or is that?
Yeah. So collagen peptides, that's a nutritional supplement, and these are what we're talking about are more of like, think of it as a medication or more of it's a therapeutic rather than a nutritional supplement.
So, I mean, the question, that's why the question you get and the questions we have is, do you prescribe BPC-157 or do you prescribe, these peptides?
We do, at my practice, we do prescribe a few peptides. We do prescribe tesamorelin and sermorelin. If we want to get into those specifically, I think that would be good for another episode. But I think the main take home that I want patients to come away with is to be able to research some of these peptides, research some of these small molecules, and understand that even though they're talked about like they're these great cutting edge, super effective therapies, there is really no data that supports that. And I can hear the argument now, oh, well, it's pharmaceutical, right? They're keeping this from you, right?
That's what we hear.
Okay. GLP-1 medications, semaglutide, tirzepatide, et cetera, right? That's a peptide, right? That's peptide therapy. That's $1 billion medication. If there was results to be found, pharma would find them and then they would make a lot of money from them.
If there was another $1 billion to be made,
actually,
it would be being made.
They completely would, right?
Right.
So I want people to like be a little more critical in their thinking about these things. Just because they're talked about a lot doesn't mean that they really work. And again, be safe. Demand a safety profile before you go and take something. That's the one that I think bothers me the most. Or, first part of the Hippocratic Oath is do no harm, right? So to prescribe something to someone and not have any published, not have any safety data to know that at least I know I won't hurt you by giving you this. So,
right. And then I think the other end of that, which I've experienced my whole life in taking supplements and stuff, you can spend a lot of money. And it's just not going to, if it's not effective and you're spending a lot of money, that's another negative thing.
And so let's look at,
you're trying to prevent that.
Let's step back. Let's step back one moment and put peptides into the hierarchy, right? So we've talked a lot, I have my hierarchy of health. In the order of magnitude of what are the things we can do that affect our long-term health and happiness, number 1 is exercise, 2 is nutrition, 3 is sleep, 4 is mental health and happiness, number 5 would be pharmaceuticals, and number 6 is, that's the wastebasket of everything else, peptide therapy, nutritional supplements. These things, if they have benefit, these benefits are small. They're not to be overlooked, but again, you look at the marketing around peptides and it's always showing you the easy button, right? It's some super buff guy or girl, right? Take such and such and you're going to look like this, right? It's promising you the easy button. Anything that's promising you the easy button.
I'm always looking for the easy button. So yeah, speaking of an easy button or an easier button, what's your favorite biohack?
Oh, all right. I hate the term biohack. Because it basically implies, right? It implies there's some way around, right? There's some shortcut that you can do, right? It implies the easy button, right?
There's gotta be.
No, there never is. There never is. Every biohack, like they don't do anything. But if you want to talk about what are small things that can maybe have an outsized impact, okay, I'll give you, I got 3. All right. In the exercise world, trap bar deadlifts.
Trap bar deadlift.
Yeah. Do you know what a trap bar is? It's also known as a hex bar. Unless you're
sure.
Yeah. So it is a bar that's kind of hexagonal shaped that allows the lifter to stand in the middle of and then lift.
Yeah.
It was originally like designed to do shrugs to get big traps, but it can be used for deadlifting. Unless you're competing as a power lifter, like you don't have to do it with a traditional barbell. And I think that trap bar deadlifts make that exercise much more accessible to novice lifters who are not as familiar. You can get a really good vertical path to the weight. It's much easier to set up. It's also much easier to adjust for height limitations. And I love deadlifts as an exercise for most patients, unless there's a specific injury or a reason that you shouldn't be doing them. I think they're a great compound exercise and a way for people to lift heavy. So,
And do deadlifts, do they require, or would you advise some modicum of coaching? Could you learn proper technique on a video?
You could see proper technique on a video, but getting feedback on your own movement would probably be better with a trainer. And again, so our patients are typically adults, right? Usually 40 plus. I recommend everybody find a good trainer and work with a good trainer. And there's two big reasons. Number one, don't get injured. But number two is don't stall, right? They should be giving you a progressive series of workouts so that you continue to progress rather than just spinning your wheels at the gym.
Right.
So,
you don't have to, I guess you don't have to go to them twice a week or once a week, once a month. Some gyms also have people that are there working with people that are in that category that can also help out.
Yeah. If you're new to exercising, having somebody helping you to make sure you're off on the right path is great. You don't always have to use a trainer. I like them. Again, some people like them for accountability. Again, some people like working out at home. Other benefits of going to a gym and working out is there is a community aspect to it. There is a social aspect to it. So that's not to be overlooked as well.
Right.
So back to the biohacks, though, back to the small things. So trap bar deadlifts, number one. Number two, from the nutrition realm, cauliflower rice. Cauliflower rice can be added to so many foods to increase the bulk of the food, lower its caloric density. It has almost no flavor to it, so you can kind of mix it into all kinds of things and make really delicious food out of it. It increases fiber, so it kind of has no downside to it.
And is it better than potato in that it has a less not caloric but a less glucose? It works on your glucose less than potato.
Okay, right. That's a great that's a great question. So carbs are not the enemy. We don't believe in restricting carbs from our patients unless you have loss of glucose control. Then we might restrict your carbs. Cauliflower rice versus potato, yes, it has it's lower caloric density because it's mostly fiber and water, right? So add it to things like ground turkey, add it to things like cooked chicken breast, right? And you can season it. It's very neutral in its flavor. Kind of has no flavor, so you do need to flavor it up some to really make it more appetizing. But it's a great way to increase the volume of food, which helps make it more satiating as a meal, keeping the caloric density low. So cauliflower rice.
Okay, that's two.
That's two. And then the last one is if you do have some nutritional supplements that you take, pill containers. Get pill containers, okay? Find ones that you like and buy a bunch of them. One of my patients, I'll never forget the day she told me, she's like, if it takes me 8 minutes to set it out for the week, it takes me 10 minutes to put it together for the month. And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. So I have, buy a bunch of them, right? And when you set out your supplements, set them out for the month. Do one pass.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah. And then have 4 of them.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
If you have daytime supplements and nighttime supplements, get 8 of them. Right? Yeah. Because when you set these out ahead of time, this really ups your consistency, right? You're making it simple for you to be consistent with this little habit.
Right.
So pill containers and get a bunch of them. That's my third bio.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cause I was just thinking about that. I'm taking, I have a morning regimen of stuff with DHEA and pregnenolone and nattokinase, which is a thing that probably has no data, but a lot of, but taking that is in the morning, and I was like, sometimes you forget, and then it's like midday and you're like, oh, I've already eaten a bunch of food. It's not
Yeah.
going to be as effective. Put them out. And so I just got, brought out my container, which I use for travel. I'm like, well, I can use it every day. I don't need it for travel. I can use it every day.
Now find ones that you like, find ones that'll fit all the supplements that you take, excuse me, and buy a whole bunch of them. And then, once a month, once every 2 months, you just go through this little task of you get out all your things, you fill them all up, boom, and you are done. You can now just be consistent every day.
That's a hack. That's the easier button. That fulfills the easier button.
Easier button. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we've really talked about peptides in general, and just to clarify is, published safety data is a key thing when you're searching for the new medication oriented kind of products that are out there.
Right. Safety data, and then ask for human efficacy data, right? Because again, there's a lot of people that talk about mechanistic studies as if that's human clinical outcomes. And there's an ocean between these two things. If you have an effect in a petri dish, this is a place that research starts. Then you can go and again test in animals. And again, even if something is effective in animals, that does not mean that it's going to be effective in humans, or that it's going to have a significant enough clinical effect to matter.
Right.
So when you're doing these searches, ask for the data in humans, in the outcome studies, the safety studies in humans, not just petri dishes and animals.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else you want to cover regarding peptide?
I think that's it for peptides. I think that covers it pretty well.
Okay.
So, all right. I hope that was helpful for people. If it is, please leave comments below. And if you have other questions, things you'd like me to talk about, please write into us and leave us your questions. I'll be happy to answer them.
Health Notes with Dr. Bob is produced in collaboration with Spartan Medical Associates. We see patients in person at our Charlotte offices as well as virtually throughout North Carolina. Learn more at SpartanMedicalAssociates.com. Got a question, topic idea, or feedback? Drop it in the comments or visit us at healthnotes.net. This podcast is purely for educational and entertainment purposes. Listening to our show does not create a doctor-patient relationship. While I am a doctor and we may speak with other medical providers, we are not your doctor. The content you hear does not constitute professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your own healthcare provider regarding your personal health matters.